What's going on, guys? Dan here, TD Speed Shop. So we off it last. We roughly had this thing kind of, metal work-ish done. Still need some filler, but I'd run out of filler and I went to the auto body supply. And while I was there, I picked up some touch-up paint. Now, a lot of you guys have been saying in the comments I should just, paint another tractor color. I'm not gonna lie, it would have been a lot cheaper. Paint and supplies, I mean, it's been going up, but I don't even know what happened. I got 2 quarts of some color match. I got the activator. I could have bought smaller ones, but I'll use it. And some reducer. That's more than $300. I couldn't believe it. I got a couple of polishing pads. I actually got those off Amazon. I also got seam sealer. I got some paintable rocker guard, sandpaper, and filler in there. Hopefully get me hardener for the filler. Oh, come on. All right, well, that's a bummer. It was a bit of a schmaltz while I was there, was we were getting the paint mixed and all that, so they don't keep the hardener with the body filler. I guess they grow legs. Anyways, I'll have to get some more. What a hassle. Anyway, before I get into body work, well, I obviously can't do any body work before I do the paint, I thought I would polish up the fenders and maybe the hood, just do a few spots like that and just kind of see what it turned out like. I got these small ones instead of the big ones, see if I can get in some of the nooks and crannies without grabbing the pad so much, and we'll see what we can accomplish. I got that same scratch and swirl remover, which worked fantastic on that last section of door that I brought in to color match. So yeah, hopefully it works out good. I'm pretty excited. I'd like to see this come up. Now I know you don't want to get polished and all that when you're going to paint and all those things, but I want to see what it's going to look like. I'll be careful, and we'll see what the color comes up as, because otherwise I think if I paint it and it looks absolutely garbage, I'll be frustrated. So let's get set up and see what this fender can look like. All right, we're gonna use the same Chemical Guys stuff which I used a little while ago, and it seemed to work out real good. I think it's kind of heavy scratch and swirl remover. I think we used this on the black car before Power Tour, and it had a bunch of old junk in the paint, so it's definitely a little abrasive, but I think that's what we need in this situation, so we'll keep the RPMs a little low and see what happens. All right, let's see if it came out as nice. Not bad. There's still junk in it. It does shine up. Does that show up on camera? Wow, that's amazing. Not bad. So it came out pretty good, but there's still crap in it. I think ultimately we need a more abrasive unit than this. I mean, this is doing all right. I think we might pull out this honcho and see if it'll, well, I should probably clean that first. See if it'll grab. This is a bunch more speed. We'll see if we can maybe get her schmelted out. I am a little nervous. I don't want to burn through the paint too bad, but at the end of the day, if it burns through, it burns through. Like, what are we worried about, right? And ultimately, when I paint the door and the quarter and all that, we're gonna kind of patina finish it anyways, so if we got a little patina in the front, we got a little patina. That's the way she went. I'll get the other thing all set up. I'm going to wash it, and we'll see how it turns out. All right, so I thought I'd give her a quick run there. I cleaned it all off with a hose, dried her up a little bit. I thought, we'll see what this does, so I'm not wasting everybody's time. Wow. That looks freaking good. So I did the rest of the fender back here with this little guy. And I mean, again, it's way, that's almost like a patina, what's it called, boiled linseed oil compared to that. But well, now we're committed. So wow, that's what we're gonna do. And honestly, hopefully it matches the paint in that can. I put a little bit of tape right here. We're gonna do this whole fender because it's not going nowhere. So we'll try it out, see what happens. Maybe we'll get on the hood, and who knows where we're going. I also got a guy come over and gonna buy a set of wheels. It's just a real busy night, man. I could really understand how this color would sell this car in 1965 or 66, whenever the guy bought it. The white top I'm not a big fan of, but this bronzy red, man, when I first saw this car, it was like this crap brown, all sacked out color. Like it was, you know, like primer. I was like, you know, don't mind it, this and that, but this is a fantastic color. I don't feel so bad about painting up a little bit for the paint. At worst case, like I said, all these little patina marks and whatnot, we can polish some of those in. Okay, this is turning out friggin' amazing. So, obviously it looks good, but the cool part is there's all this patina and these colors and stuff are coming out. Like I didn't know, well, not that I really like this, but I didn't know the paint was cracked. Like, see how that kind of happened there? Obviously it's like that here, I assume. You just can't tell because it's so dull. That's cool. And then this is my favorite. Look at this. I don't know what the hell that is, but it's like, you have to pay the guy to do that. Now you gotta be careful on the edges. I did pretty good. I don't think I burnt through anyways. There were a few spots here, like, you know, a little bit of black coming through, which, you know, I don't know, maybe it's back there too, but the polish really brought out all that stuff. It's super neat. So I'm stoked on this. I think I'll probably do, well, the fender and the hood and all that, just kind of, we'll start time-lapsing the hell out of it. If I can make the car look like that, the rest of it should, you know, blend it in, scuff it, do whatever I gotta do. We should be golden. A lot of body work, a lot of screwing around, which I don't really want to do, but yeah, we'll square it up for the next day or so. And I'd like to maybe at least paint one side. I might just do one side at a time, see how it turns out. If the paint's dead wrong, I'd like to know before I do both sides, just one side, right? If I got to tint the paint again or do something different. So I think this will be the side we're going to do. So after I'm done polishing, I'll weld that all in. We'll start body working that, straighten this out. This side actually came out pretty decent. This body line is mangled. And see, stuff like this, I don't know what we're going to do. If we're going to try and fix it all or just kind of paint over it and we'll see what happens. But yeah, a few blemishes never hurt. I think this is the definition of lipstick on a pig. Well, probably should have polished this thing and not chopped into a four-door, but my God, is it going to be a nice car. I really hope the paint can blend and be somewhat close-ish. I guess we'll see. I definitely brought in paint that wasn't as polished as this, so I definitely want to get a little bit of color on the side. The hood, you know, it polished up some, and some came out better. I mean, what are we gonna do there? Obviously there's some stuff there. If you get into the middle, this is actually the primer bleeding through. So I mean, there's only so much you can kind of do there. I could definitely polish a little harder in certain areas, but I'm worried it's gonna start coming through. Now if you look at it, so the primer here is white, and I mean over here it goes into like a black and kind of bluey purple. So this front clip's been changed obviously at some point and been painted. So that's the other thing, I don't even know what the color is gonna be. We're kind of running out of daylight. Well, we've ran out of daylight. I think what I'm going to do for the rest of the night, I'm just going to go ahead and burn in this quarter patch and get that all taken care of. I'll get some, maybe a load of filler on it, and then we'll carry on tomorrow because I'd like to block out that quarter because it's really not that difficult to do. I can just dust that in, and then the door and the quarter panel where it's kind of, you can see it's all dinged up and ugly. I'm going to do the best I can, but honestly, it's a fine line by how nice do you want to, in frame, how nice do you want to make the rest of the car? We have to match it to a certain extent. And if it's laser straight, which I can never do anyways, it'll just look goofy. So, probably spend the day tomorrow sanding and maybe put a little color on. We'll see what happens. I'd like to get that done, but this is a time-consuming part. So, I'll see you tomorrow. The quarter panel welded in. So it is the next day. I've been doing just a little bit of work on the car. I'll show you in a minute here, but I consulted with my expert long distance paint and body guy, Scott, over at Cold War Motors. That guy, man, he's just such a nice guy. He helped me out big time. And he recommended, now I want to say he did make some recommendations. I'll probably do whatever I want. But he recommended painting the car from this body line, like this brake right here, down, front to back. Obviously we'll do the whole door, and then just polishing and blending on this line, because if I paint, you know, gentle, if the color I got doesn't match, you really notice it, and then obviously trying to do a blend over here and then down there, it'll also really unmatch, which I respect that opinion. It makes a lot of sense. My problem is I love the way this fender looks. Just a little bit of black coming through, and it's kind of beat up, and this little piece right here. So step one, I think I'm going to follow his advice, except not paint the fender and see how it turns out. Worst case, we can always paint the fender down the road. That's assuming the paint job goes decent. Now, I have since put a little bit of filler where the old post was. I had to actually weld a patch in there, got that all dialed together. And then we had the back, I fiberglassed it, ground it, and then put filler on there. So I got the compressor fired up, and I got some 80 grit in the lawn board. We're going to go ahead and get the quarter panel going, get in the door jamb, make it look kind of decent. We still haven't done anything in here. You guys have really been slacking. I feel like I've been doing all the work here. Get all in there done. My next big concern, so obviously where the door would have been is right there. This body line, I want to crisp it up as much as I can and follow this little kind of scallop best I can. The rest of it is kind of going to be what it's going to be. We'll flatten it out and whatnot. And then the door, handle off, lock out. I'm just going to hammer this thing with the longboard. Same thing, try and get this lined out a little bit better. It's pretty beat right now. Get some of the real scabby, scaly stuff off. Had a little bit of filler where I had that patch. And again, we're just going to go ahead and let it rip with the paint. Up in here should be good. And then I got a little bit of figuring again where I had to do some fine trimming to make it all fit. But really get rid of the real chunky stuff. Oh, there's wasp. Weird. Get all that taken care of, and then, I mean, really put some color on, and then once it hardens up, polish through it and all those sort of things. We'll be putting, you know, blacks and different primers and stuff, so as we polish through, we'll kind of try to recreate something like that. And draw your eye away from my horrible bodywork. If you didn't know, this was a 4-door, now it's a 2-door, so it's pretty good. Anyways, I'm gonna let this all set up, and we'll get to sanding, my favorite part of any project. Okay, so we're about 2 coats of filler in the future, because how much filler can you guys watch me sand? So we're mostly kind of taken care of-ish. And there's still some rough spots and, you know, a few last little bits here I want to go over. And this is basically in 120 or 180, something like that. So definitely far from perfect, but we're getting there. Kind of happy with the way everything kind of worked out. There's still a couple little areas I got to do by hand. And I ended up getting in the door jamb. Look at that, looks all right, eh? Now what I also did is down here on the bottom, that's a paintable rocker guard. So the rocker and in the back I didn't do the bottom of the fender, which I probably could have, but we'll see. So I put that on. It's dry. It's supposed to be an hour before you can paint it. And it's probably been half hour, 45 minutes to put it on. So now I'm going to finish off these last little bits here with the airboard. Then I'm going to prime just with some, I've got some cans there, some high build primer. We're going to prime it all, let the filler absorb it, see what it is. We're going to hit the whole thing with some, 220, 240, whatever I got, maybe some 300, and take off this little Biscayne emblem and decide where exactly I want to start painting from. I'm going to go borrow Murr's gun, and obviously once the primer, we'll go over it by hand to make sure there's all little, stuff kind of hanging out that I'm not happy with. We can all do that by hand. So it'll be an hour screwing around like that. Mask it, cross your fingers, pray a little bit, and hope the paint goes on nice. Ultimately, as long as the color looks decent, we can beat it up and polish it and patina it and all those things. But I'm confident that I'll finish it. Hopefully it'll look good. So this here is where we kind of ended up after a couple of coats of primer. It's still a little on the tacky side. It kind of gulls up the paper. So it says after a half hour it can be painted. So I assume after a half hour we can sand it. We're about 10 minutes in. What I'm going to do, I took the emblem off. I'm going to sand right up to this line and right around down there. And then we'll polish that out. Should be fine. So we're going to be painting that, the whole quarter, and the whole door. Obviously all up in here as well. We'll mask off the roof. My only part I'm struggling with is, unfortunately, the way the quarter panel goes. I was doing body work right up until there, so I'll probably lay a tape line here just to keep any paint and stuff off of it, but I'll just dust it in. I'm obviously not going to use the tape line as a hard line. We'll dust it, we'll kind of polish in here the best we can, and it'll be what it's going to be, and honestly I'll probably sand it down and look like that. So there's still scratch marks in it. There's still lots of imperfections. Nothing's exactly straight. We still have stuff like that, which I will straighten out. I do have some 320, maybe that is. But again, this is what we're leaving. I'm making it worse every time I rub it. We're going to leave stuff like that in the paint up here. So having a perfect door, which I couldn't accomplish anyways, but really good door, really good quarter panel and all that, just won't match the rest of the car. The hood's right down into the primer, and this is the deck lid. Like, I'm going to polish this. This is hilarious. It's like this. So that's how I feel about it. I think it'll look really good. I'm hoping. My only concern is the color. Hopefully the shade is close enough that it will blend into the fender. Otherwise we can mess around with some clears or getting it re-tinted or some more paint. But I'd really like to avoid that, because I tell you, the paint is so freaking expensive. So I'm just doing a little bit of cleaning up, not very much. I'm going to pull the tire off so I don't get paint all over that. Murr's going to drop his gun off for me. And yeah, I'll probably just kind of work away at this. It's dry to the touch, but still needs just a little bit of sanding. There's a few spots actually where the primer went a little gibbled there. Obviously there was something there it didn't like, which honestly is fine, because the paint might do that, and then it'll kind of match the rest of this gong show. I'll start sanding. I'll bring you back when we're ready to lay down a little bit of color. I'm hoping. So Murr came over to drop his paint gun off, because we're going to use his highfalutin stuff. You got this new kit where you can mix the paint and leave it all together and all sorts of things, which is out of my price range, but I'll borrow it. So I got everything kind of masked off. The only thing, this is, I don't know what I'm going to do here, loosely mask, peel that back, just kind of the blending. We'll see. I mean, we'll see. We got a little paper hanging in the back. We're just doing the window. We're going to do the jams first. Talked to Scott there at Cold War Motors, gave me some final advice, I guess. Gonna wipe this thing down, got a little bit of water on it, and then mix some paint up, and we'll see what the door jams look like. I'm pretty confident. Yeah. So Murr's talking to himself, but he's got this new kit. I don't know what he's trying to accomplish here, but he's gonna go ahead and paint this jam because he wants to use his brand new gun. I don't want to take that away from him, and he's gonna not touch any of the interior here. He actually, the word he said was, there's already dust on here, so a little paint on it will just wipe right off. There might not be any air to that, actually.
No, there is not.
I'll be right back. So the first test coat went really good. So that was green. Actually, this covered a lot better than I thought it would, and this is just one coat. So we're thinking it'll probably take 4 or 5, because I'll maybe do some polishing. So Mercury, he's liking his new gun. Yeah. So we'll get the door jams all kind of dialed together, and I'll bring it back when we're painting the fun stuff. So we got the door closed, we got just a little bit in the jam, or the window. The paint is similar, we'll see, but I'm just going to let it have it. The idea is light coat, but multiple. So first coat's on, actually it covered really well and looks shockingly better than I thought. Camera always makes it look better. So it's been about 15 or so minutes. It's still bleeding through in areas, but now what Murr's going to do is we're going to paint it differently, so break it in thirds. So start in the middle of the door, go to the middle of the quarter panel, quarter to the end, and door to the front, middle of the door to the front. That will avoid kind of heavy areas with the paint, which I guess can lead to sagging and all sorts of runs and all that. So that's what Murr's going to do. It's a plan. So we'll get set up, put another coat on. Well, the paint looks good. Unfortunately, it's really showing off my bodywork. So, but we'll polish and ding it and hit it with a hammer and make it look rough. It's starting to get a little chilly, so we got the heater going with the door up. So we're really ventilating here. You know, the color, I don't know how it'll show up on camera. It's obviously newer and shinier. I mean, we're trying to compare 60-year-old paint. Seems a little browner, but we'll see. Once we unmask it in 20 minutes, we got 3 coats on. Murr's gonna do 1 more. And I think it's supper time. Well, unmask it, that's supper time. all done. So now we're gonna ruin it and try and unmask it and see. I need to see how it's gonna match the front here. And hopefully I don't, how are we gonna do this? The paint's still soft.
Soft? This is not soft, it's fucking wet!
Hey, Earl shy but be proud.
Production.
Not bad. I'm probably blocking it.
Yeah.
Considering the paint is 60 years difference in age.
Yeah.
I guess all come off in one sheet. Good? Think so? Look at that. Turn the heater on tonight, let her bake, just like you do at Chip Foods. All those guys.
Oh, yeah, look at see the t-shirt?
Oh! Chip Foods gave that to himself, I think, eh?
Yeah, me and Chip will way back.
Wow. Well, I think that's passable. It's definitely, I guess, you see in the sun. It's definitely a little darker. But once I beat it all up, fine. Well, there we have it. So the dust has settled. It is what it is. There's definitely bodywork issues right there. I mean, you could use a little bit more sanding and all that, but what couldn't around here? Overall, it went fantastic. That's not terrible, I guess. We'll see what the polish is. The fender, you can definitely see it's a little darker than the front. I think part of that is because it's probably just so thin as I'm going through, which I do plan on when this is hardened up to, blend through and burn through and do little few things like that. Unfortunately, this thing, which I actually like, there's no trim, so there's nothing to draw your eye away from it, which is the cool part about base model cars. But we'll get it all back together. So special thanks to Mur, as always. And Scott, Cold War Motors, talked me through it, gave us a bunch of advice. And man, that guy's just so supportive, even though I'm butchering stuff together. So I appreciate the hell of that guy. But, well, you can tell now, it's definitely a different color. You don't notice it from the backside. We'll stand back here. Look, it's like a magic trick. Anyways, that's where I'm leaving it for today. Tomorrow's video, you guessed it, we're working on the other side. Now, the other side is a lot further along, because I had been doing body work on it. Obviously, the wheel arch is mostly done, the quarter is mostly done. The door was in a lot better shape, but the fender is a little bit beat. So, the way she's gonna go. So we'll get on that tomorrow. That'll be the next video. So thank you very much for watching. As always, leave a comment below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Tell a friend. I really do appreciate those things. And if anyone's ever asked, you made it this far, why didn't you just paint the fender? So I like this stupid thing. I don't know why. It's cool. Well, see you tomorrow.